before I learned to associate with the five limited senses, and to think my life, I was intuitively aware. So my third eye, this is a bit bruised at the moment, I'll tell you about that. My third eye was wide open. So I could see the collective spirit, the one source in the trees, the flowers, and people. And I would sit in the classroom when I was sent to school. That was the real world to me, looking at the teacher's thoughts and their feelings coming out of them as ringlets of color, and then all the children, and watching those thoughts go through me and how it felt to feel their thoughts. And I got confused because very often I could see that the teachers didn't really believe in what they were telling me to believe in. So I didn't understand that at the time, but I just found it kind of confusing and wondering why have I got to sit here then and do this if you don't really believe it either? So I remember at the age of 7, when I was being told, pay attention, boy, because instead of looking at the collective light intelligence, I was being asked, slow that down and just think about reading and writing and maths. That was a slow process to me from the intuitive sense perception. So very often I found it quite boring. So I was unattentive. And then I got judged for that. And today they call it ADHD. But then it was called thick, stupid idiot. And I heard that so often that I remember at the age of 7 thinking, maybe they're right. Maybe there really is something wrong with me because my sister is really good at school and I'm really struggling with this stuff. So I remember deciding it was too painful to be that sensitive any longer. So I often use this analogy. It was like taking hold of a dimmer switch and turning down consciousness so I wasn't so sensitive and became more focused on my limited 5 sense perception of things. And from there, I literally went into what I jokingly say, living in a brain without light for 27 years, living in fear of more criticism, fear of more judgment, and fear of the belief that there was something wrong with me, when intuitively I knew all along there wasn't. But now my thinking didn't allow me to understand that any longer. So since then, in my soul searching to understand these things, I've worked with many children and many adults who have shared the same experience with me. I'm still occasionally working with children today that tell me what it's like for them to be exactly like I was as a child and how they feel misunderstood. And when they feel misunderstood, they either become extremely introvert or extrovert. And communication is very difficult for them. And so I asked them, so what's going on for you in those moments then? They say, well, I don't feel safe. I don't trust because I think I'm going to get judged. And people don't understand me, even if I try to explain myself. They don't understand what I can see and what I can feel. So one little girl I was working with recently, you can see her on my Facebook, Ellie, her name is. I asked Ellie, what was the difference for you in mainstream school, because she'd been thrown out of 3, to learning in a group that I started with a friend called Nature Kids. What's the difference between learning? She said, well, I'm a sensitive child like my friends, and we can see what you're saying. And if you say something, you should mean it. I went, oh my God, she's like 11 years old, So she went on to say what it was like for her and her friends, and why she particularly was thrown out of school for the same reasons eventually, because she simply didn't feel understood. And I've actually worked with managing directors as well that have had that experience. And for the rest of their life, they were trying to hide the fact that they felt out of place, misunderstood, and as I did in show business, you hide those insecurities behind the performance or the intellect or whatever it is that you feel safe with. In my studies or my seeking to understand my own experience, at the age of 27, I was invited to my first meditation group. And in that group, I had what the yogis refer to as a Kundalini experience, which most of you will be familiar with, where I literally reconnected with that, what I call independent intelligence again. It's kind of independent, but it is who we are at the same time. And I remembered, oh my God, that's what I was like as a child. It's like, and I was asking myself, how can we possibly forget this? What is the function? How does that function come about? And in my soul searching, that's when Paul came into my life. And I heard so many wonderful, wonderful stories from Paul about people with similar experiences that were ahead of most of us in terms of opening this eye again. And many of you would have met Tamerson. I spent a lot of time with Tamerson, the Japanese master. And Tamerson would simply say, all you have to do is open this eye. And as soon as you open this eye, all understanding comes back into place. All problems in the world will cease to exist, because this is the eye of complete union, one understanding that the Christians call the second coming. In every religion, there's different translation for it. Keeping a long story short here, a couple of times that made me really also pay attention to the importance of developing and listening to our intuition and trusting our own ability to know how to tune in. There was one in Sri Lanka. You might remember this. It was on the world news. Both these stories were when I was asked to go and meet some friends in front of the air ticket office in Sri Lanka on a Friday, and my intuition said, change it. So I went, oh, what if I'm wrong? No, okay, I'll do it. So I called up my friends and I said, could we change it? Can we meet the day before? Oh, sure. So on the Friday, I would have been standing exactly in front of the Sri Lankan air ticket office when the Tamil Tigers blew up the whole street. So another landmark in paying attention. The other time was, some of you may know, I take treks through the Himalayas, meditation treks, and some of you went with me. And on one trek, we went particularly high one day with a small group while others rested in camp. And we're up on the side of the mountain. I'm looking back down the valley where we'd been from the days before. And this ominous cloud was coming up through the valley. And it had a real feeling about it. So I said to the guys, come on, let's start heading back down. As we were going down, the cloud engulfed us. And I have to say, there was such a presence of God in that cloud that it stopped all of us. We just automatically, spontaneously stopped in silence in our own places. And when it felt right, I said, okay, guys, let's go down. So we went down and I said to my team of Sherpas, we're not staying another night. Oh, why, sir? Why? We got another night here. I said, no, we're going to pack up and we're going to leave. So we left, and that day it rained more than it had ever rained on any of my other treks. So we couldn't even pitch tent that night. We had to stay in a lodge. And interesting enough, because Paul ordained me as an interfaith minister, a couple on the trek asked me if I would marry them. So we did an interfaith ceremony, which was beautiful. So we were in prayer and in meditation. And then the next morning, when we went down to the helicopter pad to be flown back to Kathmandu, the helicopters were going up the valley instead of stopping. So of course I said to the guys, what's going on? Oh, you don't know, sir? Campsite wiped out with avalanche. 90 people were wiped out on that campsite, and we would have been there. So, very important lessons in listening. A wise man once said, self-awareness, it requires eternal vigilance. And what I learned from Paul the difference between our upbringing and our conditioning that causes us, as the Bible says, to fall. So the fall of man means we fall from the light of our intuitive intelligence into a thinking, limited five sense emotional mode, which only gives us a small perspective of who we are and what's really going on with each other until we open these senses again. And our whole life's journey is continual experiences of seeing where we're still not awake enough, where we're not paying attention enough, where life, as Paul said, is the mystery school. So my personality is the student in the mystery school, where my true self, my true nature is this enlightened mind. It is what all the masters are trying to tell us we are. We are the very breath of life. And that's what we're not nowadays, especially in the Western world, doing in our everyday living in order to tune this body like an instrument to those high frequencies. So to me, what's going on in the world right now is wake up time. And the only reason we've got these problems going on is because it's actually giving us the chance to wake up. So if we really look at this situation, we have two choices. Like Paul said, you can be a victim or you can be a cause. And now's the time for all of us to rise up vibrationally to be causes. That means we have to change, raise the vibration of our thinking, trust our intuition, that gut feeling, and really develop it on a daily basis. So my yoga masters, Tamerson, martial art masters I've studied with around the world, they all come back to that same point, is be in the center. They point to their solar plexus and go, be in the center. That's your real intelligence. Don't just live in your head. It will misguide you all the time. But get the head to live, be integrated. As Jesus said, get your house in order. Don't be a divided house. So integrate that conscious awareness. So in every breath, you're training the mind. Its first thought is, I am this conscious intelligence. Am I thinking like it? Am I behaving like it? Am I speaking like it? Is my body experiencing that that's who I am in everything I do? Or is my personality, or ego as we call it, still in that unenlightened place, trying to let me know, hey, I need your help to raise my vibration? I have a question for all of you. If I may share the screen for a second, I'll just put this up. I'm aware of my time here. I don't want to overrun and put the schedule out of line. So let me just share this with you. Here's a question for all of you. Can you all see that? Yeah, I can't hear you, Stephen. Yeah, oh, good. Okay. So here's a question, and maybe you can give me a yes, because I can't see all of you anyway. Is, would you have done something differently in your life or your business if you had trusted your intuition? So you can wave or you can say yes, whatever. Take a moment to think about it. I can't see you. I wish I could, but there you go. Thank you for the thumbs up there, Stephen. Okay, so here's the question I ask myself. All my life, I've known there's something more about me. All my life. Even in my moments of deepest doubting, I've always known there's something else. So here's my question. How is it we are so intelligent as to know, and yet so slow as to do something about it? And that to me is inner light consciousness, or the develop. So we all know from our intuitive inner light, don't think like that, it says. Oh, don't think of yourself like that. Don't speak like that. Don't behave like that. Don't act like that. Don't we all know that? Yes, indeed. Okay. So the vigilance then is for us to use our inner light consciousness tools that Paul gave us, and many other great awakened minds have given us over the course of time, especially now, because if you consider it like this, as Jesus said, we are co-creators with Allah. And the interesting thing about the word Allah in Jesus' time, he was actually saying to his students, don't forget, you're a co-creator with your very life and your very breath. That's who you are. So we actually couldn't be closer to this thing that we call God, because it's in every breath. So if the mind is trained to be consciously focused on proper breathing, which a lot of us don't do, then we get the house in order, which simply means that when the mind is sitting quietly, that's the purpose of meditation, focusing on the breath, the mind is engaging the will, the 7 chakras, the heart, the emotional body, all of those 7 centers, but we are consciously going in, like I tune my guitar or my voice when I'm singing, and we are consciously, purposely tuning ourselves in to those higher vibratory rates that speak to us from that still small voice behind all the others of habit. All right, so I want to show you, this is what one of my favorite sayings from one of our most brilliant minds. And this is what Einstein said. What is intuition? It's the ability to understand instinctively without the need for conscious reasoning. When I first heard that, I went, oh my God, that's why I had so much trouble with this issue of learning reasoning when I was a child. And I've had a lot of lessons in learning how to heal that and use it properly since. So that's the Oxford Advanced Dictionary. And what Einstein said here, well, he lies that for you, and this is so beautifully said. The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant if trained to be. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. Isn't that such a vibrant truth that shines through the ages to us? And isn't it reflected in what's going on in the world currently? So, if we get ourselves back on board, here's some of the terms that we use that are not just intuition, but they're actually thesaurus interpretations. I'll just go through them quickly. So we can also call it gut feeling, wisdom, hunch, instinct, insight, sixth sense, clairvoyance, discernment, ESP, foreknowledge, inspiration, premonition, innate vision, knowledge, nose, perceptions, acuteness, astuteness, awareness, brilliance, comprehension, grasp, farsightedness, second sight, understanding, and perception. All of those gifts we naturally, instinctively, intuitively have in every breath. If we're breathing properly, we feel it more. So intuition is a direct knowing. This is my personal experience and many that I've spoken to, especially the children, because they're not stuck in their heads. Intuition is direct knowing that does not require belief in or previous experience of in order to know. We just know, no questioning. So it is the light that guides us, our inner light consciousness, to achieve our full potential. Now, if I look back at my life quickly, from the person that I was taught myself to believe I was, that thick, stupid idiot back in school, and the sufferance I went through because I took that belief on mistakenly, and the victim consciousness I lived in for 27 years, and the way that inner light intuition has helped me to transform my whole conscious perception of myself, life, and others. And thank God we have people like Paul. So, intuition demonstrates that we are all connected, as Leah was saying there earlier. So that's the one, and that's in the Christian story, it's the second coming, when we have the chance now, especially right now in divine alchemy, to turn all of this round by doing what needs to be done on a daily basis to open these eyes and live from there. That's got to be the future. Here's a quick picture. I'm hurrying, excuse me for doing that because I don't want to overrun the time. So this is a group of indigenous people that I was with recently. Their hats are the symbol for enlightenment or the open eye. Their saying is, trust the mind within nature. They're called the mummers. If you want to see all about them, drop me an email and I'll send you the link to the film, and you'll see where I was with them, high in the mountains in Colombia. Beautiful. They have direct wisdom, direct knowing. You cannot, you're totally naked in their presence, like I was with Tamerson. And here's just a memory picture for some of you. You can say, this is the younger me. Here's Tamerson, for those of you that didn't get to meet Tamerson. And Paul, of course, and the wonderful Sir George Trevelyan. And here's a quick link so you can grab my details if you'd like to, get in touch with me. And this is an online training program that I'm doing right now called Skills for Life Balance. I think we are 2 minutes on the button, if my clock is right. Well, that was a quick rush. Sorry, I had to fly like that, but you know, it's a quick time to get it all. I certainly hope that I've contributed something of value to all of you in that chat, and particularly if any of you are in education or working with children, please, please, please study these areas, especially within yourself. Really understand that intuitive intelligence and how we impede it within ourselves from our conditioning instead of allow it to be clear and flowing. There you go. Thank you very much.